Hey guys, welcome back to I'm Just a Fan. It's your host Ben, and today we're just going to be recapping the NFL, just kind of giving my thoughts briefly on each game. This shouldn't be too long of a video. Just wanted to get this out there because this is some type of content I've wanted to make now for the last couple of weeks and just didn't really know how to go about it. So let's get right into it. And before we start this video, I just wanted to say, if you like this video at all, feel free to give it a like. If you have any thoughts during the video, feel free to comment them down below. I'm trying to build a community here and would love to hear what you guys have to say. And then, yeah, if you enjoy this content, feel free to subscribe. But again, I'm not forcing you to do any of this stuff. It's your choice. Just wanted to throw it out there, and let's get right into it. So we're looking at the first game here. We have the Bills and the Dolphins. The main takeaway of this game, of course, was Tua's injury. I made a video on that literally last week. So you can get my full thoughts on that, but just kind of giving a brief rundown of the game. I thought Buffalo looked pretty good for what they were doing. Most of the things I thought they were doing were solid, but it also was a lot of really just aided by Tua's picks prior to his injury, of course. Thought he didn't look very good, didn't look very confident, just didn't really know what he was doing. And some of the decisions, I mean, that pick six was brutal. I'm not sure why he threw that one. On the Buffalo side of things, they really didn't have to do much offensively other than give the ball to James Cook. This guy, no pun intended, cooked. That was terrible. That was terrible. Regardless, he did his thing. He did a great job. I have him in my Dynasty League, so I was very excited to see that from him. And just going forward, I mean, Buffalo's 2-0. For me right now, they're the clear favorites in that division. And that's how I was feeling going into the season anyway. So feeling pretty good about that. But yeah, I just thought Buffalo had a really convincing win. And Miami going forward is just, it's in a tough spot. I don't really know what to even expect. I think I'm blanking on their backup quarterback. I think he's supposed to start, but they want to bring someone in. At least they've discussed that. But, I'm making this video on a Wednesday, and if they were going to have brought someone in already, they would have done it. So I think moving forward, they're probably going to have to move with the kid. But regardless, huge win for Buffalo, and on to the next game. Next game that was pretty interesting was the 49ers and the Vikings. I had the 49ers winning this game. I mean, who didn't? But overall, I thought it was a really good performance just overall from Minnesota in general. I thought Darnold played pretty well. I thought Jettas did his thing. And honestly, shout out the defense as well for Minnesota. They really kept the 49ers in check for a majority of the game. You can even see there's a video on socials going out right now about Purdy giving credit to Brian Flores about his scheme and just how much it's given them problems. I mean, this is back-to-back years where Minnesota has beaten the 49ers. Yes, it's in Minnesota, but still, that's extremely impressive. We know how good this 49ers team is. And to see that, I just thought it was a really, really interesting wrinkle so far to the season. And yeah, just wanted to give credit to Minnesota because they look really good so far. It looked better than I was expecting. And I'm excited to see how far this team goes because I feel like we'll see what happens with Darnold. He's probably in the best situation he's ever been in career-wise. And McCarthy's not going to play anyways this season, but it's just interesting to see what happens. And we're going to really have to keep an eye out on this team because I don't think they're obviously Super Bowl contenders, but the way things are going, they might be, one of those 7-6 seeds that get into the wild card and maybe upset a team on the road or something like that. So again, have to keep an eye out on this team, but just thought it was a huge win for Minnesota. And yeah, now San Francisco's 1-1. Next game, we have the Patriots and the Seahawks in overtime. The Seahawks ended up winning that game. My main takeaways from it were Geno Smith, again, is just proving me and the rest of his doubters wrong. I'm not a Geno Smith hater or anything like that. I'm just not in love with him like some people are. But at the same time, he proved me wrong. I thought he played really well. Arguably, he played one of the best games from a quarterback this weekend. And I just thought that he did, again, a good job controlling the game, doing what he needed to do. It sucks seeing Walker get hurt, but Charbonnet has stepped up for them. Metcalf had a phenomenal performance. On the New England side, again, Ramondre is doing his thing. I thought Brissett looked better than I was expecting. Again, back-to-back weeks of him really controlling that offense. Again, he's not going to elevate it to an elite level or anything like that. Not that they have the talent anyways, but I just really liked what I was seeing from Brissett. I thought he was going to look a little bit worse. I just thought this New England offense was going to look worse, but they seem to have an identity with Ramondre, and that's really exciting to see because going into the season, I mean, we weren't expecting May to start, but at the same time, they have just, I don't know, I thought they were going to be more of a flatter team, but New England has showed that they have some character and they just look like a fun team again. So I wanted to give credit to Gerard Mayo. Yes, I know they didn't win the game, but still, he's got that team playing really good football. And congrats to Mike Macdonald. I mean, 2-0 so far as a rookie head coach. That's not something to sleep on. And yeah, just wanted to give him credit for that. Next game, Giants Commanders. This game was kind of a tough watch. A lot of field goals, but my main takeaways were, for at least Washington, was this man Daniels. He took a bad hit. I don't want to be overreactionary, but can he stay healthy through a 17-game season? He's going to have to slow down with the sliding. The lack of weapons also is a little concerning for Washington. McLaurin has done nothing, but at the same time, it's the way they're calling plays down there. It's either run with Daniels or the running backs, or it's check down. I heard a statistic the other day that really was shocking to me. Zach Ertz is their leading receiver through 2 weeks. That's insane. Yes, tight ends help out younger quarterbacks, but dude, and I'm a Zach Ertz lover. I mean, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but this guy's like 35 or something. Like, what's he doing as your leading receiver? So, thought that was interesting. And then my main takeaways for the Giants was just, again, another winnable game that you didn't get a win in, which is going to be brutal. I thought Jones looked better. And for me, the standout for that team was by far Malik Neighbors. How could it not be? He completely torched DC's secondary. I have him in one fantasy league, so I'm glad I stuck with my guns and started him because I really thought it was a nice mismatch against that trash secondary for the DC Commanders. So that was my main takeaways from that game. Just at least on the Giants side, just seeing how much of a threat Neighbors really is. Chargers, Panthers, not much to say about this one. On the Chargers side, again, coming out big. Again, you're 2-0 now, which they haven't done in years. You can see Harbaugh's at least putting a little bit of more juice into that team. They seem to have an identity. It's run that damn ball and play some defense, which I thought was, again, something maybe they needed because they've just kind of been more known for that high-flying offense, but I feel like at times it didn't really always come together. And even if it did, that defense would underperform. So seeing them kind of change things up, but actually have it work out so far is good to see. Because I'd like to see the Chargers be good at some point. I mean, I want to see Herbert make some memories in the playoffs. So that's really what I took from them. And then more of what I really took out of this game was on the Carolina side is Bryce Young, man. I mean, barely even pressured this game and still played like dog shit. Like, I was pro Bryce Young out of the draft, and now looking back, I just don't know what I saw. I mean, this guy, he played great college football, but at the same time, I don't know. I just really thought his ability was going to adjust to the NFL. I think I definitely underrated his size going into this league. But obviously now he's benched for next week for the Red Rocket. That'll be fun to watch him play. But it's just a tough situation right now in Carolina. I might even make a video on Young getting benched, just depending on how I feel. It's just a tough situation for that whole team, and I really feel for that fan base because they have a solid fan base. It's just, what's the point of turning out right now when you have a team that fucking sucks and an owner that could give two fucks about going about things the right way with his organization. So those were my main takeaways from that game. Not a ton to take away. I guess my last point that I forgot to say for the Chargers was Quentin Johnson getting 2 touchdowns. I mean, at least I think he got 2 or 1. I know he scored at least. I mean, that's a good thing. He didn't look very good last year, so you'll take any positives you can as a Chargers fan going from that game. Next game, we have the Saints and the Cowboys. Whoa, was not expecting this at all. I really thought that Dallas was going to beat the Saints just because Dallas has had such a good record at home these last couple of years, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, but that was not the case. Only scoring 19 points at home was But my main takeaway from Dallas was just holy hell. I don't know if the defense was bad or just New Orleans was really good offensively, but damn, did they run the ball on you. So Dallas is going to have to get that defense cleaned up because that shit looked really bad. And doing that at home was very, very embarrassing. Now for New Orleans, I really liked what I saw again, back-to-back weeks of this team just becoming a threat offensively. Who would have thought that the Saints were going to be threats heading into 2024 on the offensive end? Definitely not me. I was very low on this team. But they did their thing. Shout out to Alvin Kamara, again, one of my running backs in a fantasy league. 5 touchdowns for him. Just completely dominated, showing that he's still got it. And do we have to have the discussion, do we have to put this guy back in the elite running back class? Because the stuff he's doing right now is just on another clip. So I thought he looked really good. I thought Derek Carr looked really good. And overall, New Orleans is buzzing. And I'm pissed that the Eagles had to go to see them in New Orleans this week because this is just such a tough spot for us after seeing this team play that good of football the last 2 weeks. Colts Packers didn't really pay attention to a ton of this game, but from what I saw, Green Bay really had the running game going with Jacobs, which again, good for him. Glad he could get out of Vegas. That team sucks. That organization sucks. I'm just glad he can get out of there and, succeed. So it was really good seeing him, run the ball very well. I got to give credit to Matt LaFleur for getting Malik Willis to actually execute the game plan and then come out with a win. That cannot be understated. This guy is not a great quarterback, as most people know. But the fact that they still got a win, ran the game plan and everything, I just thought that was really good from the Packers, especially coming off a loss last week. You didn't want to go 0-2 to start your season. And any win you can get with Love out is huge for the rest of the season. On the Colts end, I thought AR struggled. He threw a couple picks. He threw 3. I'm really thinking he threw 2 just because one of them was a Hail Mary pick. So I'm not going to count that personally, but he's got to clean it up. That Colts offense just looks tough to watch. It's not as necessarily stale. It's just so just feels like it's almost hard to do things, if that makes sense. Like it's hard. It just feels like it's very hard to execute what they're trying to do. And that's why I was a little lower on the Colts heading into the season, because AR going into the season had only played 3 full NFL games. So I think people need to kind of pump their brakes a little bit, just because this guy's pretty much a rookie still, and he's still got to figure this stuff out. So seeing this team, a lot of people had them getting over 8 wins. I just didn't see it this year. And obviously they're 0-2. But the bigger thing for me, other than AR, is just this run defense for the Colts is so shit. Back-to-back weeks of them just getting absolutely ran on. I mean, I feel like this week was almost more embarrassing because you knew what Green Bay was going to do. They have Malik Willis, a guy that is really only good at running. And then obviously you knew Green Bay was going to have to run the ball. And just seeing the Colts again give up a huge clip of rushing yards, they have some big questions to figure out, because you are not going to be able to win a football game if you continue to let teams run the football on you at that elite level. So Indy's got to clean some things up, and we'll see what they do in this next coming week. Browns Jaguars, ugly game. Not much to really take away from this. On the Cleveland side, Deshaun Watson did prove me wrong. I thought he was absolutely cooked. Yes, I'm not saying he played a great game, but he played a good enough game to get them the win. It was a real ugly win, like I said. I thought Cleveland's defense played pretty well, specifically that D-line was making a lot of plays. And just a gutsy win for Cleveland. They really needed that one to kind of get the national media to shut up, because there was a lot of talk last week, specifically after Deshaun Watson's new sexual assault allegation. That, do you got to cut this guy, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just a big win for Cleveland to get the media off of them. Now on to Jacksonville. A little bit more disappointing in my opinion. This team's 0-2. They shouldn't be 0-2. Minimum, they should have been 1-1, because you should have won that game against Miami, but you freaking lost that game because of the ETN fumble and everything unraveled. My friends and I were actually having a discussion about this recently. Is Doug Peterson on fraud watch? Because it's back-to-back years of this team not looking very good. It doesn't really look like Trevor's looking very good. It's just a lot of questions I have with that offense. I think maybe some of it links back to Press Taylor. This guy sucks. Watching him call plays for the Eagles was a hard watch. And now seeing him do the same thing in Jacksonville, again, it's just not looking good. So they really need to get something going, because I feel like if they don't really pick things up, I don't see why they don't clean house when it comes to the head coach. Next game, Jets Titans. This was an interesting one. Takeaways for the Jets. It was just big getting that win. I felt the offense still didn't look fantastic. It's very conservative. I'll say this. It's not conservative play calling. It's very boring, very stale, very predictable play calling. Not a lot of explosivity, not a lot of creativity. Not a huge fan of their play calling, but at the same time, they still got the win. Rodgers made a couple big throws. I thought the run game looked really good. Brees had a nice touchdown. Allen had two nice touchdowns. He kind of came out of nowhere for me. And I just thought the Jets, they did what they had to do. The defense at times still, to me, looked a little sus. I don't know why that Tennessee was really even in this game, but they were. But it was just still big for the Jets to get this game, because if the Jets would have been 0-2 heading into now a Thursday night football game against the Patriots at home, like things could have gotten ugly real quick in New York. So they really needed that win. Now on to Tennessee. Again, another week of this defense playing really good football. I thought what they showed me was, just that they have some guys out there, and they slowly were making additions throughout the offseason to help really booster that defense. And so far, it's really paying off. But what's killing them is Levis, man. Again, a terrible turnover in the red zone back-to-back weeks. You just can't do this stuff and expect to be a good NFL starting quarterback. He's got to clean this stuff up. And I hope Levis knows, I'm sure he does, even if he won't admit it. He has to know, dude, this is your best shot. This is your best shot. People still don't have a full narrative around you yet. But the first 2 weeks of the season so far, you're becoming the turnover guy of the league, because you just continue to turn the ball over in bad situations in the red zone. And that's what's going to get your ass benched if you want to keep doing that shit. So that was my main takeaway for Tennessee. Again, I thought they showed some fight, but man, they just got to stop messing up in key moments in the red zone. And that for me specifically goes on Will Levis. Another big game here. Buccaneers go into Detroit to upset the Lions. Takeaway for the Buccaneers, just a huge gutsy win. You didn't win a shootout. I thought that they looked really well. I thought their defense played really well. Baker did his thing, making plays, scrambling in the pocket, stepping up, getting first downs. Did enough to get the game won, and I just thought it was a really gutsy performance from the Bucks, specifically just because they got swept last year by Detroit. Detroit went into Tampa last year, beat him, and then they went, of course, into Detroit and lost. I just thought that was a huge win, morale-wise and just for the psyche as well. Like, okay, we finally beat the Detroit Lions. We can move on. We know now that we can actually beat this team. So I just wanted to say, congratulations to Tampa. Again, they're just 2-0, but I thought they played really good football. And then when it comes to Detroit, for me personally, offensively, I just thought it was really, really weird what their play calls were. You were averaging 5.4 yards a carry on the ground, but you decide to throw the ball 50 times at Goff. Just looks weird. Goff also, to me, looks just off. I'm not sure exactly what's up to him. Maybe he's coming back to a little bit more reverting to the norm with a little bit of regression because he had such a good last year. I'm not sure. They also were 1-6 in the red zone. Again, just thought the play calling was not fantastic. And then the only other thing I would say about Detroit that I liked was Aiden Hutchinson, man. I feel like people are not talking about it this much in the media. Maybe it's just because they lost, the Detroit Lions. But 4 freaking sacks in one game. I mean, this is legendary stuff. So I wanted to give him a shout out because, again, 4 sacks in one game is no joke. He was completely messing up the offensive game plan for the Tampa Bay. But it still wasn't enough to get a win for Detroit. And now they have a tougher game this week against the Cardinals. So we will see what happens with that. On to the next game, Raiders, Ravens. Baltimore, man, 0-2. Are you kidding me? Like, wasn't expecting that. Definitely wasn't expecting that. I can understand the Chiefs loss. I had them losing to the Chiefs, but this was a minimum W against the Raiders. The spread opened up, or not opened up, but the spread was at -9 at one point. Obviously, Vegas was showing you what you thought or what they thought was going to happen with this game, and it was the complete opposite. The Ravens had this game too, which made this even worse. they let the Raiders come all the way back. I thought Lamar played solid. I thought Zay Flowers did really well. But for me, this goes on coaching. Harbaugh has the most comeback losses, and I think it's the last 2 or 3 years or something like that. I don't know the statistic, but a lot of people are kind of calling for his name down there in Baltimore, specifically just because I was in the area the last couple of years, so I have a little bit more of a temp on how those fans feel. And people were telling me they didn't fuck with Harbaugh in the summer. So, they're 0-2. We will see what happens. Do I think he'll get fired this year, even if they have a bad season? I don't know. But at the same time, if they have a bad season, like, there are going to have to be questions answered. Now, going into the Raiders side of this, I just thought it was a gutsy win. Thought they played really good, or not really good football, but good enough football, obviously, to win. I didn't see a ton of the game, but I was still keeping an eye on them coming back and everything. Huge win for them, of course. Huge win for Antonio Pierce. That locker room looked juiced up after the game had ended. So I just wanted to give them credit, because going into Baltimore, especially in a must-win situation for Baltimore, that's a tough spot for the Raiders. And the fact that they got that done on the road to make Baltimore 0-2, it definitely was a statement win, and I thought that's something that they could potentially build on going forward. Rams, Cardinals. Cardinals, I mean, Kyler Murray's back. This guy was just making plays, doing Steph Curry shit where he's celebrating after or even before he scores. Just doing things that, we haven't seen him do in the last couple of years. But I've never been a Kyler hater, so I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's making plays again. And I hope he can stay healthy this year, because when he's on, man, he is fucking on. And it is a great product to watch. So I thought that was really good from him. Marvin Harrison, of course, doing his fucking thing. 3 touchdowns, 2 in the first quarter. He's just fucking killing it out there. Like, he was quiet in that first game, but maybe he just had to get adjusted, or maybe it was that shitty Rams secondary. Who cares? He still cooked their ass. And I'm glad he's doing good, because I've been wanting to watch Marv play in the NFL for a minimum of 2 years now. So I hope he can continue this success, because I think him and Kyler, if they can really build that connection, I think going forward, this is something we'll really have to fear if you're going to be playing against the Cardinals. Now, onto the Rams side of this, just what the fuck? Like, Cooper Kupp gets hurt. Now, pretty much, he's not on IR, but has a pretty bad ankle injury. So now you're down him and Puka. You're down a shit ton of O-line, and that obviously impacted this game. I mean, they only put up 10 points. And that was against a not very good defense in Arizona, but, Arizona took advantage of that. And again, there's only really so much you can do when you're down 4 offensive linemen and 2 of your best receivers. Felt bad for Stafford out there. It was a tough watch. Just really was expecting more from the Rams. Thought this was a minimum win. They've had the Cardinals number the last 13 games, but now they're in a hole. They're 0-2, and this is something to really monitor, because they play the 49ers this week, and I don't know if they're getting a win for that. And they could damn well be 0-3 at the end of next week. So something we really have to monitor going forward as well. Bengals, Chiefs. On the Chiefs side, again, another gutsy win. Thought the defense played pretty solid. Yes, you got that touchdown. I thought McDuffie did his thing for the most part on Chase. Just a gutsy win. I didn't think Mahomes played, phenomenal ball, but at the same time, still doing enough to get the game won. So credit to them for that. On the Bengals side, for me, what stands out is by far I thought their defense looked good. I thought that one receiver looked really good too. I don't remember his name. He's filling in for Higgins right now because Higgins is out. But he played some pretty good football. And then my main thing was Jamar Chase. What the fuck are you doing, man? Getting that stupid penalty to pretty much kill a drive. You got to get Joe Burrow to take you out of the ref's face. You fucking pissed off on the sideline. Zach Taylor can't calm you down. Like, it's just not a good look, man. I know you didn't get the contract. I know things didn't go your way. But I just feel like you're giving such bad energy to the rest of this team. And I just am very curious to see how Cincinnati is going to handle the situation going forward, because it's just, I don't know. I just feel like it's not great energy there right now. Steelers, Broncos. Again, not a ton to take away from this game. Thought the Steelers did what they do, played Steelers football, kept it low scoring. Justin Fields managed the game good enough to get them a win. Pittsburgh's 2-0. They're taking advantage of the Ravens and the Bengals being 0-2. So again, I'm going to give credit to Pittsburgh. It's what they do. On the Denver side of things, God, they have absolutely no weapons for this kid Nix, but at the same time, he just looks overwhelmed out there. I mean, it was tough watching them play football. It was just tough. I don't know if it's some of the play calling from Peyton. I don't know. It just was ugly and just a lot to really think about for Denver, just because, again, not that I thought they were a playoff team or anything, but going forward, it's just like, are you guys going to struggle this much every week offensively? Again, you were going against a really good Seattle defense and a really good Pittsburgh defense, but at the same time, that was just really, really ugly. Bears-Texans, let's get into the Texans. I didn't see a ton of this game, so I can't really speak too much on the Texans side of things. I thought their defense looked really well, specifically that pass rush. Stroud, again, did enough. He did enough to get the win. I know Nico Collins did a pretty good job. I'm glad to see him continuing to develop because he really did come out of nowhere. But those were my main points for Houston. Again, I didn't watch a ton of this game, so take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. And then when we get into the Chicago side, I mean, what else can you talk about but this O-line just being pure dog shit? I mean, 7 sacks against Houston, I think. It's either 7 sacks in 2 weeks or 7 sacks just this week. Still, regardless, this man, Caleb Williams, he's just fighting for his life out there. I mean, I don't know what people expect this guy to do. He's just fucking running out there and hoping for the best. I think some of his old tendencies in high school and college, where he kind of runs out of the pocket, almost tries to like do a full circle back there, they're obviously not going to be able to be done in the NFL. Guys are too explosive. Guys are too fast. He's got to cut that shit out. But at the same time, I can't blame him because this offensive line is just pure dog shit. And last game, I'll make this quick because I've already made 2 videos on it. Eagles, holy fucking shit. Just a terrible loss. I would say now that it's Wednesday, for me, it's coming down to coaching and it's coming down to that damn D-line. Those are my main things to say from it. I'm not going to go into detail about this again just because I already have. Atlanta, I thought it was a really gutsy win. Huge win for Raheem Morris. It's his first, as a head coach. And we'll see if they can build on that. It's a tough week coming up against Kansas City, but if you can get them and then all of a sudden you're 2-1, maybe we have to really look out for the NFC South because things could really be changing quickly there. So overall, that's my main recap for the NFL. Just a quick, brief discussion points for each game. And yeah, let me know if you guys like this format. I'm probably going to continue doing this just because it allows me to get through all the games in a more of a quicker way that also is a little bit more digestible for you guys. So again, let me know what you think. And again, if you like this video, feel free to give it a like. If you have any thoughts on the NFL this week and the NFL coming up this week, drop them down below in the comments. And if you like my content, feel free to subscribe. And if you don't have to. It's all good. But I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace, guys.